My sister claimed my late husband was her baby's father in baby shower. Now, the truth came out in court. I'm 32. 6 months ago, everything shattered. My husband, Kenny, was driving home from a late meeting when a drunk driver ran a red light. The police said he died instantly. Just like that, my whole world collapsed. One minute we were texting about what to have for dinner, and the next I was identifying his body at the morgue. I met Kenny when I was 28. He walked into the coffee shop where I was working on my laptop, spilled his drink all over my table, and spent the next 20 minutes apologizing and trying to save my documents. By the time he finished helping me clean up, I was already falling for his genuine smile and kind eyes. Our relationship grew naturally, like breathing. He became my best friend, my confidant, my rock. When he proposed 4 years later, I didn't hesitate to say yes. We built a beautiful life together. We bought a charming colonial house in the suburbs, the kind with a wraparound porch where we'd spend summer evenings planning our future. Kenny worked as an investment banker, and I had my own marketing consultancy. We talked about having kids someday, but we were happy just being us, building our dreams together. The first few days after his death were a blur of funeral arrangements and paperwork. My parents stepped in to help, showing more attention and care than they had in years. Looking back, I should have known something was off about their sudden devotion. They had always favored my younger sister Olivia, treating her like their golden child, while I was the one who could never quite measure up. Olivia was 7 months pregnant when Kenny died, and somehow, even during my husband's funeral, she managed to make everything about her. While I was trying to write Kenny's eulogy, my parents were fussing over Olivia's swollen ankles and making sure she was comfortable. I tried not to be bitter. She was pregnant after all, but it hurt to see them so focused on her while I was drowning in grief. When I asked about the baby's father, Olivia was vague, muttering something about a one-night stand after breaking up with her boyfriend. I didn't push it. Olivia had always been dramatic about her relationships, and I was too consumed by my own loss to dig deeper. The baby shower invitation came 3 weeks after the funeral. Olivia called me personally, her voice dripping with that syrupy sweetness she reserved for when she wanted something. "I really want you there," she said. "You're going to be an aunt, and despite everything, family needs to stick together." I should have noticed the slight emphasis she put on family, the way her voice carried a hint of something I couldn't quite place. But I was still numb from losing Kenny, still going through the motions of living. So I agreed to go, even bought an expensive hand-knitted blanket as a gift. The baby shower was exactly what I expected from Olivia. Over-the-top decorations, expensive catering, and a house full of people who seemed to orbit around her like she was the sun. I stood in the corner, nursing a glass of sparkling water, watching as our parents fawned over her every move. What happened next shattered everything I thought I knew. Olivia's eyes locked onto mine, and she smiled that smile again, the same smile I had seen so many times before when she had a secret she was dying to reveal. "I'm sure some of you have been wondering about the father of my baby," she said, glancing around the room. "Well, it's someone you all know very well, someone who is very close to Karen. My baby's father is none other than Karen's late husband, Kenny." Her announcement hit me like a physical blow. She claimed Kenny was the father of her baby. My Kenny, my husband, the man I had built my life with. The room was dead silent, except for the sound of my breath catching in my throat. My hands shook, and I couldn't process what I had just heard. I stood up, my legs trembling. "What did you just say?" I managed to whisper, though it felt like a shout in my ears. Olivia laughed, as if she had just told a harmless joke. "It's true, Karen. You know it's true. Kenny and I were together before he passed away. I wasn't going to say anything, but I thought you should know. Your husband wasn't the saint you thought he was. He was my soulmate." My world tilted. Everything that I had once believed in, every truth I had held close to my heart, felt like it was being ripped away. Kenny, the man I had loved, had been having an affair with my sister. I felt like I was suffocating, and the room spun around me. "You're lying," I shouted, my voice trembling with rage. "You're lying, Olivia." But the damage was already done. The room was filled with gasps and whispers. My parents were silent, standing off to the side, not even looking at me. The betrayal was so deep that I didn't know where to turn. I had been living in a lie, and the person who had stabbed me in the back was the one person who was supposed to be my family. That night, I went home, numb, unable to comprehend what had just happened. I blocked Olivia's number and tried to bury the pain, but it was impossible. I felt like I had lost everything: the man I loved, my sister, and even my own self-worth. But Olivia wasn't done destroying my world. 2 weeks later, I received legal documents from her lawyer. She was suing for half of everything Kenny had left me: the house, our savings, even the downtown apartment we had bought as an investment. Her lawyer had crafted a compelling narrative: the grieving mother-to-be, carrying the child of a man who had died before he could make things right. The documents were meticulous, detailing every asset Kenny and I had built together. Olivia claimed she had text messages, emails, even hotel receipts proving their relationship. She wanted not just child support, but a substantial portion of Kenny's estate for the welfare of his unborn child. I was ready to give up, to let her take everything just to end the nightmare. Then came the call that changed everything. A doctor from the Manhattan fertility clinic reached out, concerned because Kenny had missed his follow-up appointments. As we talked, he revealed something that would turn the case on its head. Kenny had been diagnosed with infertility years before we met. He had undergone treatments, but they were unsuccessful. The revelation hit me like a thunderbolt. Kenny had never told me about this. Perhaps he had been trying to find the right time, or maybe he was afraid it would change how I felt about him. But more importantly, it meant Olivia was lying. Her entire story was a fabrication. She was dragging his name through the mud, and he wasn't here to defend himself. That night, I barely slept. By morning, I had made up my mind. I started researching lawyers, making calls, reading reviews. That's how I found Thomas Martinez. From our first meeting in his downtown office, I knew he was the right choice. He didn't just listen, he understood what was at stake. This wasn't just about money, it was about justice. He wasn't cheap, his retainer alone made me wince, but watching him map out our strategy, I knew he was worth every penny. For the next few weeks, we worked tirelessly, gathering medical records, documenting timelines, building an ironclad case. I also reached out to Kenny's mother, whom I had only met once at our wedding. Kenny had been distant from his family, and I had respected that, but now I needed her help. The court day was surreal. Olivia arrived dressed like a Lifetime movie version of a grieving widow: black dress, subtle makeup, perfectly practiced look of sorrow. She took the stand first, weaving a story so convincing that even I almost believed it. She described secret meetings with Kenny, plans they had made for the future. Her performance was masterful. She had the jury eating out of her hand as she described their great love story and how all she wanted was what's fair for Kenny's child. She even produced edited photos of them together, carefully manipulated to suggest intimacy that never existed. Then it was our turn. Mr. Martinez was calm and methodical as he presented the fertility clinic records. Olivia's lawyer objected, claiming patient confidentiality, but the judge overruled him. The records were clear. Kenny had been sterile. The medical evidence was irrefutable. Olivia tried to recover, claiming the records were forged. Her composure cracked as she shouted about conspiracies and fake documents. But her performance completely fell apart when Mr. Martinez introduced Kenny's biological mother. The DNA test was ordered, and the 2 weeks we waited for results were the longest of my life. Olivia tried everything during that time. She sent flying monkeys in the form of relatives to guilt me, had our parents call me constantly to work things out as a family, and even attempted to break into my house to steal documents. The day the results came back, the courtroom was packed. Olivia sat with our parents, clutching her baby like a shield. The judge's voice was clear as she read the results. There was no genetic relationship between the baby and Kenny's family. Olivia's entire story had been a lie. What happened next was chaos. Olivia broke down, admitting through tears that she had seen Kenny's death as an opportunity. She knew I would inherit his estate, and she thought she could take advantage of the situation. She had been seeing multiple men, and when she got pregnant, she saw a chance to secure her future. The judge's ruling was scathing. Not only were all of Olivia's claims dismissed, but she was ordered to pay my legal fees and faced potential criminal charges for attempting to defraud the court. Our parents sat in shocked silence, finally forced to see their golden child for what she really was. But the aftermath was where the real healing began. Outside the courthouse, my parents tried one last time to make amends. My mother cried about families sticking together, while my father mentioned how they had been struggling since I stopped sending them money, something I hadn't even known Olivia had told them to expect from Kenny's estate. I blocked their numbers right there, standing on the courthouse steps. Kenny's mom was waiting by my car, and she asked if I was okay. To my surprise, I laughed and realized I actually was. Or, at least, I would be. The next few months were about rebuilding. I learned that while Kenny hadn't been perfect, he should have told me about the fertility issues. He had been faithful. Kenny's mom shared stories about his childhood, helping me understand why he had been distant from his family and why he might have kept his infertility a secret. Olivia didn't give up easily. She sent letters claiming she had changed, that she needed help with the baby, that she was sorry, and wanted to make things right. I threw them away unopened. Our parents tried reaching out through friends and relatives, but I cut those ties too. I learned that toxic family members don't change. They just find new ways to manipulate you. Instead, I focused on healing. I started therapy, joined a grief support group, and slowly began to live again. Kenny's mom and I developed a close relationship, having weekly dinners where we shared stories about Kenny, the good and the bad. She became the mother figure I never had, supporting me without trying to control me. A year has passed since the court case. I've heard through the grapevine that Olivia moved to another state, that our parents had to downsize their house due to financial troubles, and that the family is still trying to recover from the scandal. But I'm no longer part of that story. I've started traveling, something Kenny and I had always planned to do together. I'm learning to cook, took up photography, and am slowly renovating the house to make it more my own. Kenny's mom comes over often, helping me turn it into a space that honors Kenny's memory while embracing my new life. Sometimes I think about the family I lost, but more often I think about the family I gained.